Hey everyone, I'm David. Welcome to Shaman Man. I'm an empath, intuitive. I help to open people up, to recognize what they're experiencing, to help put some understanding to what they're experiencing. And with that understanding, you're able to remove blockages and healing manifests, and you open yourself up to new ideas, new visions, new opportunities. It's really about freeing yourself, right? And a lot of times in freeing yourself, it has to do with how we handle fear and disappointment. It's also about the stuff that we're feeling and being able to recognize what I feel like versus what everything else around me feels like, instead of it being an all gobbled kind of mess, and you're addressing all sorts of emotions and feelings and ideas and thoughts that don't necessarily belong to you. And that's the gift of being an energy person, right? But what happens when you feel guilty for getting it wrong? You know, you were having these feelings in you, and you felt strongly that whatever story you had painted in your mind, you know, as what you were feeling here was real. You know, that was the truth, like that was the story, right? And yet it wasn't. And you were thinking, gosh, man, how did I get that wrong? I mean, I was way wrong. Like what's up with that? And then you start to feel guilty for it somehow, like, you know, is this fake? Like, am I not feeling something? Or, you know, how could I be so wrong and yet, you know, I'm feeling this, and this? And I guess what I wanted to say to you is, it's okay. It's normal. I mean, you have to kind of think of it like this. You know, if you said that between somewhere 18 and 25, you're in your prime, and you knew how fast you could run and how high you could jump and everything else, and you had really figured out your five senses and how to make them work together, right? And you're in your optimum state. Accepting that we received extrasensory perception, we receive these extra senses, and we have to learn to incorporate them. But it's a skill, it's a practice, and it's a specialty. To me, it's kind of like a chef, you know. If you took any like chef and said, what's in this dish? Because of all of the years of their practice and training and making a lot of dishes and obviously tasting a lot of dishes, experiencing, right? They would be able to say to you, hey, this dish has these things in it. Well, and they would be accurate a lot more times than not, right? Well, the same thing with you and your gifts. You know, the more you use it, the more you open up, the more you're afraid not to be wrong, the more you'll find that you're right. But you really can't do any of that unless you're okay with being wrong, which means you can't feel guilty, bad, sad, or like it's not real in some fashion if what you thought was real turns out not to be so real or not to be right or accurate. So what? You have to practice, right? You have to eat enough dishes to know what's in it. You have to practice. So I want to give you permission to fail. I want to say to you, hey man, it's all good. If you don't try, you don't grow, you don't learn, you don't experience what you need to, particularly if you choose not to because you're afraid of something or afraid of looking silly, or what if you do get it wrong and whatever. Put a little notepad together. You'll be surprised at if you just do little impact, you know, little thumbtacks almost for yourself. You'll be surprised that you're probably right more times than you're wrong. But, you know, kind of like that dry erase board where you look at this big white thing and then there's this big dot in the middle of it, right? And everybody goes hyper focuses on this dot, right? But you're like, dude, there's this whole big white erase board. Why are we focusing on the dot, right? And then we get all worked up about the dot. So when you feel guilty that something didn't work the way you wanted it to in your mind, when you were feeling something and you didn't respond the way you probably should have, in your mind, not the way it worked out, right? But in your mind, you're like, you build up the story. Well, I should have done this, should have done that. You got to let go of all of that. And when you do, you'll free more open, you'll find that you're able to be more accurate, because this whole thing you've got blocking you is your ego, is the you part. And when you're really feeling, you're just a conduit. It's not because your body, it's the whole makeup of everything of why you're able to feel what you feel. And so the control is you being able to keep yourself open so that you can receive, not the control to manipulate or to enforce or project what you think should happen or be. Wow, that was a lot. I hope it's helpful. Until next time.